one guy's trying to outdo the next guy. No, I could drink more lean than you can,
right?
Or I can hang with more pills and this and that than you can. The next guy comes out trying to do more than him, and then next thing you know, kids that are listening to you are affected by it and want to try it, and the way down starts from there. So, for that reason, we've never promoted anything but marijuana. The fact that other people are going that route is because they need to shock you. They need to sell records. They need to be popular.
Right.
And you're not going to be popular just on good rhyming skill alone. And a lot of them take that dangerous path, and most of the time it ends up, in a self-destruction.
Yeah.
Welcome to 2000% Raise, hosted by the man who took down billion-dollar companies while sitting at his kitchen table, John Cerasani. Left that big job in my 20s to become an entrepreneur. Everyone said I would fail, but I got winner in my core. Sold my company to private equity and the money poured. I got millions times galore. Not bad for a kid from Schaumburg, right?
Pretty pumped up about today's episode. In season 1, I had a lot of people I looked up to as a kid on the show, and a lot of athletes, some entertainers. I think back, I had Jeremy Roenick from the Blackhawks on there. I had Kid from Kid and Play was my first rapper on there. I was never a huge Kid and Play fan, a little bit before my time or whatever, but yeah, it was respect. I mean, there's a big fucking star, you know what I mean? Well, today, I got to tell you guys, just for some dude from Schaumburg that started this insurance company, and he sold it and came into some money, really had nothing to do after 2019. My employment contract was up, and started fucking around on social media, and it's kind of taken a life of its own on a little bit, start doing these podcasts, and had a lot of people telling me that I'm wasting my time. Dude, you fucking look like an idiot out there yelling to people to quit their fucking jobs and be entrepreneurs. Dude, you fucking look like a moron, dude. Or as the kids would say, cringe with a clown face and shit, right? I got to tell you, this past probably 6 months, things have kind of come into fruition for me in a way where I am getting something out of it. And it's the power of social media, putting you in circles, introducing you to people that you'd really never even have access to. And I had an event in Las Vegas last October. And a gentleman that lives in Vegas named Henry Park, very successful business guy out here, survived with the stuff on Instagram, comes to the event. Me and him end up hanging out. He ends up taking me to the damn Raiders game. He has season tickets. Stayed an extra day, go to the Raiders game, fucking having a great time. This little Asian guy, he's fucking hilarious. And anyway, as we're coming to our seats, this one dude sitting behind us starts going, "Yo," and he points to me and goes, "Respect." And I thought he was kind of saying it about the chick I was with. I'm like, okay, dude, we're sitting right next to you. She could hear you, buddy. Well, his name's Trace Nunez. He's sitting right here. And he followed me on Instagram. And, well, we're watching the damn game. Now, Henry has season tickets, but he's not a big football fan. He doesn't know really the rules or, whatever. Great fucking guy. And he's asking me kind of some basic questions, not like stupid questions, but some basic questions. And we're all kind of in the same conversation a little bit. And then Trace here introduces me to who he's sitting with. And he goes, "Hey, man, this is Sen Dog from Cypress Hill. Sen Dog, welcome to the show."
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Bro, and I'm like, dude, get the fuck out of here, bro. It's fucking awesome, right? So I grew up on this shit, bro. I grew up on this shit, dude. And I was a fan of you guys before Insane in the Brain. I think I'm a fucking OG because I was with you. How I Could Just Kill a Man. All right. When How I Could Just Kill a Man video fucking came out, the way you guys shot that shit, it was kind of like at the time, it was different, right? Like Juvenile had that Ha video. You guys had How to Kill, you know what I mean? It's like those fucking guys, it's legit.
Yeah. Well, if you've been down since back then, you've pretty much been with us since day one.
Yeah.
I think that was our Killer Man. I think it was our second single or something. And it wasn't all just, put the record out, it takes off, and all of a sudden you're making money and you're touring big time.
Right.
It still took months to make that record happen, and like a consistent, amount of road work to get the awareness going, because we put the record out and everybody's been telling us this record's great, and it's not transferring over into sales.
Right.
And so we decided to, let's go tour, and then eventually there was a DJ in New York that turned the first single over, which was a song called Funky Feel One.
Okay.
and then we put our Dangerous song on the B-side. Don't ask me why that happened.
Yeah.
But the B-side was How I Could Just Kill a Man, and it just became a hit in New York.
B-side?
That was the B-side, and it went to #1 in New York, in all the stations. And so we got a call saying, hey, we're going to take you off a tour when you guys come up here with Naughty because your song's #1 and we need to film a video.
Okay.
So therefore, that's why the video for I Could Just Kill a Man is us walking around New York City instead of LA.
All right.
Right?
Okay.
Because we were already out there on tour and we didn't have money, like, to just jump on a flight and go to Cali, make a video and come right back.
And that video right there, shooting it in New York City, that kind of carried the mystique where a lot of people thought you guys were actually from New York City.
Yeah, because of Cypress Hill's, I think it's in a part of Bronx or something. And so everybody's thinking like, hey, we're from there, but we're Cypress Hill with one L, with no S behind the the hills, right?
Okay.
So when you hear some like any of these New York guys that refer to us as Cypress Hills,
okay,
that's
because
because
they're from you.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what's the name Cypress Hill mean?
Well, Cypress Avenue is the block that my mom and dad bought their first house on.
Okay.
Back in 1979 or 80.
All right.
And we moved in. And it all derived from there.
Okay.
The Hill part comes from a guy named Ramel Z, who was a great MC in his own back in late 70s and 80s. And he had a song that he said something about, I broke into with Def Seville and then I shot uptown to Cypress Hills.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, what did he say?
Okay.
And that's when we found out about Cypress Hills, New York.
Okay.
But since we're like one block that we claimed down there in Southgate,
yeah,
we just took the S off and just became Cypress Hill.
Okay.
And that's after, years of trying to find a cool name.
All right. And Cypress Hill, everybody knows is you and Be Real. And is there other people that have been like, the DJ? Is there other people that could claim they're part of Cypress Hill besides you two?
Yeah, there's DJ Muggs. He's the producer, the original producer that we set out with.
Okay.
We all go back to friends from the 1980s.
Okay.
And there's Eric Bobo, who's an incredible drummer in his own right, and the son of an incredible Latin jazz musician named Willie Bobo.
Okay.
And now we have on stage with us we have DJ Lord, who's an incredible DJ, and he just does. He does wonders for our show.
Yep.
And then we've had other people involved too, but for these last few years, that's it's Lord and Bobo and myself and Be Real.
The coolest thing about this Cypress Hill clique is like this isn't something that like a record label formed.
Okay.
This isn't like I use the term a boy band.
Yeah.
These cats were all friends growing up as kids.
Yeah.
Muggs was into music. Sen was always into music. There was, previous bands, precursors to Cypress Hill.
Okay.
So these guys like all grew up together.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of, that process is still in play today.
Yeah.
With like even with me and management.
Yeah.
I've known these guys for 30 years.
Wow.
So it's kind of like everything is in-house with Cypress Hill, and that's why the formula really works. I mean, these guys, like I said, this isn't a boy band.
Yeah. Well, so you guys are, Trace, you guys are doing some big time fucking shit. We're just talking about it before we got on here. When you're in Europe and stuff, I mean, we're talking about fucking filling up arenas and shit still. Has there ever been a fucking lull? I mean, shit.
I mean, Sen, go
yeah,
ahead.
there has. I think in like the early 2000s or whatever, there was a point where we weren't really doing like a lot of live, shows, maybe 10 or 12 shows a year. That lasted for a little while, and then eventually we decided everybody to get back together and really invest time in Cypress Hill and get the awareness back up.
Okay.
So that's what we did, and then we started recording again and things. But there definitely was a lull. We came up fat. After a while we came up fast, and we were up there for a while, and then things just started getting a little weird. Not weird, but just I would just say for me, tiring, maybe a little bit exhaustion.
Got you.
And then we slowed it down, and then eventually we just went back at it, and now we're doing things with like Ice Cube and stuff like that, you know, going to Europe and overseas and stuff.
To put it in perspective, last year, the 2023 season, we toured 288 days.
Holy shit.
So basically 10 months of the year we were on the road.
Damn.
We touched 5 different continents, and I think we did like 28 different countries.
Damn.
So yeah, no, we were globetrotting last year. And then this year for 2024, it looks to even be bigger. We're off for like the next 4 weeks. And then
get after it.
back out on the road.
International or where?
Both.
Yeah.
There's a South America tour scheduled. There's a Europe tour. I'll kind of throw it out there. There's rumors about a live album to be recorded.
All right.
A lot of the orchestra tours. Sen can touch on that too. Doing these orchestra tours have been a whole new level for Cypress Hill.
Got you.
Yeah. The symphony shows were kind of something that came up from behind the Simpsons episode, where we actually, you know, while drunk and high, we ordered the symphony shows up playing, you know, Cypress Hill songs, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger from there to where it became something. And then we went and we tried it, and I'll tell you the honest truth, I didn't know what to expect, but once I saw how the fans received it, I was like, wow, this is way cool.
Okay.
So now we're scheduled to play with the London Symphonic in England.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
I
a
think
big
this
deal.
year, that's a very big
Shit,
deal.
dude. Well, you guys got the street credit to do it, man. Everybody fucking knows you guys, and you just celebrated the 30th anniversary, I believe, of the Black album, correct?
Yeah.
Black Sunday.
Or Black Sunday. Sorry, the Black album was Metallica. Black Sunday, right? And you and I didn't know that until Trace just said that. So you and Be Real were boys prior to all this. Because one of my questions was going to be this, man. It's you know, it has initially. If you're just looking at things on the surface, people might think, okay, Cypress Hill, where Be Real kind of comes across more as the front man, where you're saying, A to the motherfucking K, you know what I mean? Where he's not doing that with your lyrics. But if you listen to the fucking songs, you have just as many dope verses as him. Yeah, really? Yeah. You did the fucking Fat Boy on a Diet fucking verse? I mean, forget about it, dude. That's number one. You know what I mean? Has there ever been any kind of like, you know, push and pull between you and him in terms of fame or anything?
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's pretty fucking impressive that there has been.
When I met him, he was like about 13 or 14 years old.
Okay.
And I was around 17 or something, right? And, and we've always been boys, you know what I mean? It's never been a thing of a competition, unless you mention a certain girl here and there. But you know, when we first started recording, he hit his stride earlier than I did.
Okay.
You know, and where he was being very fluid, I think it was just a confidence issue.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Because now you're going to be big time, and people that, you know, around the world, anybody's going to be able to critique your work type of thing. And I just had that in my mind. So it just took me a little bit longer to get set in my position, and believe in myself. You know what I mean? Which eventually came along, but we went at it with that, and I didn't have a problem, you know, being like the second guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit, at least I'm in the band. You know what I mean?
So it kind of just unfolded that way. That wasn't necessarily the plan.
No, the original plan was we were both gonna rap on every song.
Okay.
Right, and we did our last album like that. It's called Back in Black. Kind of like an ode to AC/DC kind of.
Okay.
And we used that approach again, you know, later on, and we both rhyme on each song, you know, together, and it was a cool thing to do because we had gone so many years of the same format.
Gotcha.
And there was nothing wrong with that format. You know, they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But I think he wanted to try it, and I wanted to try it, and he wanted to do some different things, like, you know, have me start a couple songs off, and, you know, instead of him all the time, you know.
Yep.
So, but the original plan was to be like almost like a, you know, like a Run DMC where we just spit back and forth.
And John, to put that in perspective, and you can relate to it as well, coming out of sports, Sen as well, and myself out of sports. With Cypress Hill, kind of everybody plays their position, you know, and without one, there's not the other.
Right.
You know, without B, you know, Sen's not going to shine, and without Sen, you know, and vice versa.
Yeah.
The two of them really complement each other. You know, it's the quarterback and the receiver. You know, it's that type of thing. And that's kind of what Cypress, and that's why it really works. It's not a battle of, like, I'm always I'm in management, I'm on the outside looking in. I've never been surrounded by guys that, I'll use the term, rock stars of this magnitude without that ego. And that's what this is, and that stems from childhood friends. You know, these guys are the first guys to check each other, me included. So it's that kind of mentality, like a sports team. You know, everybody's playing their position, and then when it all comes together in sync, you know, we get the W.
And as you look back, I mean, your careers couldn't have went any better, really, right? So maybe it was a good thing that he hit his stride earlier and it unfolded. Because I think of how I Could Just Kill a Man video. Yeah. And it's almost like you elevated it. It's like, okay, here's, you know, Be Real fucking rapping, and this fucking black guy in a fucking flannel behind, oh, I could just kill a man. You know what I mean? It's like, it elevated him.
Yeah.
By you being there in that role.
Yeah. Well, what we kind of did was we did like a reverse Public Enemy. Okay. To where the high nasally voice, the pitchy voice is, in Public Enemy, it's the background dude, but in Cypress Hill, it's the front guy.
Gotcha.
And then the mean, gnarly voice in Public Enemy is the front voice. But in Cypress Hill, it's the second voice, you know? And that's how I kind of relate to it. And I felt like when our first album came out, that we were on like some next level, you know, business. And so I kind of like just went with it at that point. I didn't want to try to change anything that was a successful formula. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I got plenty of place to shine in that band, and I definitely have my moments, and I've done, you know, things where, you know, where I feel good about myself, and so there's no need to, you know, try to, you know, battle or insist on be more the front guy or this and that. Everything that comes to you should come to you naturally.
Right on, dude. Yeah. Well, dude, I'm going to tell you what, man, not that you need any more feathers in your cap, but I got a 20-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son, all right, man? And since they were babies, if one of them ate like too much dessert, I will go, fat boy on a diet, don't try it. so to this day, you're known in our family as the fat boy on a diet guy. So it's fucking hilarious.
That's funny.
I think it's so fucking cool that I'm interviewing you right now, man. It's awesome. You know, so let's. I also want to comment on one thing when you guys first came out too. I don't know if this was by design or just the nature of hip hop at the time, but I graduated high school in 1995. Okay, so I'm right in your, you know, in your probably core people, right? It was almost like my older brother and their friends that were 5 or 6 years older than me. Okay, they had, you know, Public Enemy, they had NWA. Okay, we were listening to their music a little bit. All right, Cypress Hill's out now. We got our own shit now. This is our generation. You know what I mean? Yeah. It kind of felt like that. A little bit with House of Pain, who didn't have the staying power you guys did. But, you know.
Well, that's definitely true. You know, the right before us, the generation before us, you know, was a great generation for hip-hop in NWA and Public Enemy, just to name a few, you know, planted flags. And we were back there, you know, in the streets or in the little studio we had, and we're watching all of this. Okay. So they're basically laying out how you do this. All right. If you pay close enough attention and read enough magazines and interviews and whatnot, they give you...
There's a formula?
There's a formula. It's there. You just got to decipher it. Okay. So everything that we did was always meant with the intention of it's got to be that shit. Okay. You know, and one day DJ Muggs said to us, you guys got to have a gimmick. I'm like, gimmick? Yeah, it's got to be about something, right? Yeah. And me and B are like, huh? And he's like, you two should be the Cheech and Chong of weed. And we're literally going like this. Why? You know? Right?
I don't see it.
Yeah. Why us? You know. And he was right. So we decided to, you know, champion cannabis and be advocates and celebrate it. And no one was really doing that at that time. And that set us apart from every other hip hop act that had been around. Because there had been guys that have mentioned here and there, but no one was about that life. And we decided, you know, we're gonna do that. And at first we were met with some backlash. And then, climate, people's mentality started changing.
Yep.
And now, people are looking at us as, heroes of the cannabis plant.
And once again, John, this isn't an act.
Yeah.
This is a culture.
Yeah.
It's like, if they weren't doing the music end of it, they would still be in the fight for the cannabis and the legalization and that.
Right.
It's a culture. And like I said, this isn't a boy band that somebody put together.
Well, and if you think about, okay, NWA, I think it was Dre or somebody on one of their songs, remember the song Express Yourself?
Yeah.
Says, I still express, I don't smoke weed or cessed.
Yeah.
And then here he is 6 years later with fucking Snoop Dogg doing the Chronic album,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I feel like as much as they paved the way for you, you paved the way for this whole weed movement that everybody gravitated to 5 years later.
Yeah, and we don't put that out there like it was us, whatever. You know what I mean? But we understand that we did have a big role in changing people's minds and reversing the climate as far as the legalization laws and all that. We had something to do with that, and then you had guys like Snoop Dogg come in and help the cause. Redman, the Black Crows were also big weed heads. Yeah.
Okay.
And they were all taking that stand with us. And before you know, a lot of musicians that normally would, put the weed out when someone came around or the press came around or whatever, were being, they were being bold, and they were coming out and like, yeah, I smoke too.
Yeah.
And that made the community bigger.
Yeah.
But we do understand our position and what we've done.
Yeah.
For cannabis.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the song was called "Hits from the Bong." It's like the prelude is like a water bong, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone was doing that before you. Like, the only thing I could even compare it to is like almost how like Two Live Crew, how they were talking about sex. You guys were like talking about weed, like that descriptively. No one else was that I know of is doing that like you guys.
Yeah, and that particular song, "Hit from the Bong," that was back when we used to record on 2-inch tape. Reel to reel.
All right.
Run it backwards and run it forwards. Got to start over. So "Hits from the Bong" was a really fun song to make because all the bong tokes that you hear on the record were actually live. or live hits from the bong.
Those were real.
Hey, man, you got to go back in there and take about 5 more rips, man. Like, I'm already stoned. So, we go back in there and do it again and come out, bombed up,
Yeah. Another thing I think you guys benefited from, if you could comment on this too, is like when, at least the Suburban was from, right? Okay, Schaumburg, Illinois, it's a suburb of Chicago, middle class, predominantly white suburb, not affluent by any stretch of the imagination, but it's very middle class, working class suburb, okay? And you look at the mid to late 80s, yeah, there are some kids that liked rap, but really everyone was listening to Iron Maiden and Motley Crue and Metallica. Versus that same 6-year period, you guys and everyone else emerges, all of a sudden it was okay, you know what I mean, for like the white kids to be accepted into hip hop and vice versa. We're even in like 89, with like even Public Enemy, it wasn't like necessarily very welcoming to white people to like hip hop, you know what I mean? I gotta think that, maybe you guys helped that. I mean, it was probably inevitable that it was going to happen anyway, but I would think you probably financially benefited from that greatly.
Yeah, and that goes back to the early days, and us sitting in front of the house talking about things that we want to accomplish and how we wanted to have fans of every shade and race and color.
Yep.
And then our first album, our second year out, we got invited to do a show called Lollapalooza.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
And I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
And we get there, and they got this little tiny beat-up stage back there for us to perform on.
You weren't even on the main stage?
There's nobody there. Yeah, we were not on the main stage.
Yeah.
And but me being the beer head that I am, we had come a long way. I'm like, well, the guys decided we're going to leave.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm going to get a beer first. So I went and get a beer, and as I'm going, kids are just high-fiving me and giving me shout-outs and whatnot. So I went back to the camp, and I'm like, hey, man, wait. Let's check this out.
People like us.
So the more that closer it got to our show, the more people were out there. And I think by the time that we went on, there must have been 5,000 kids at this little chicken shit stage.
Because most of the people were there to see Pearl Jam or whoever, right?
Ice Cube was on the main stage.
Oh, so this was like Lollapalooza 1 or 2 that Ice Cube was there. Beastie Boys, maybe?
Pearl Jam, no. It was Ice Cube and Soundgarden.
Okay.
And some other stuff.
Yep.
But that's when I saw the Beastie Boys and how they were the direction that they went in, and you know, festival band.
Yep.
I thought, man, that's great. We don't have to tour, you know, for a month or whatever to get a certain amount of fans to see us. Ooh. We could double that number if we just go do these festivals.
Yep.
You know, and that was the case, and that was a winning formula because those festivals contain everybody from the world.
Okay.
Everybody's there.
Yeah.
And
you know, and I think it's you guys embraced it immediately, but you know, we talked about Ice Cube a couple of times. And by the way, Ice Cube's I love Ice Cube, and I got a picture of him on my damn wall at home. So I don't mean this in a negative way, but you go listen to his shit, like, I mean, he was anti-white people in a couple of his early albums too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just feel like you guys were already in that flow. Everybody else kind of caught up to the flow. Hey, this is for fucking everybody right now.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Well, you know, I'll tell you what too, man. And where we come from in Southgate, California, on Cypress Avenue, and I had a hang out there in front of my mom's house nightly. It could be 20 or 30 guys hanging out, getting drunk, smoking some herb. And in my clique, man, I had some of everything. I had some Mexican dudes, black dudes, white boys, some Asian homies.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Cubans and Puerto Rican. Everybody was out there all together. So I never differentiate you from me because you're know different.
Yep.
That's not how I get down. I get down with everybody. So
right on, man.
When we did Cypress, I wanted to include everybody, and I wanted to be that kind of band that, you know, didn't have
a very unique thing.
That didn't have a limit as to like where we can perform. We could go do hip hop shows, or we could go on tour with Metallica, which we have, and open up for them.
Oh yeah.
And when I say unique,
fucking
John,
awesome.
exactly what you guys are speaking on. Like, listen to the lineups you're talking about, and then Cypress Hill.
Yep.
You're like, you know, how did that cross over?
Yep.
It's the same exact way that it's crossed over with generations now. The same way it's crossed over with different ethnicities. Did I say that word?
Ethnicities.
There you go. That word.
Yeah,
it's a very unique formula. It's a very rare thing that happened.
Yep.
A lot of it was, like Sen said, the mindset was when they were young, and I've heard these conversations, that they wanted to be a very worldly band, you know, that everybody can enjoy.
Right.
That's easy to say, but to pull that off is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Especially when you're involved with record labels that are trying to send you down different directions and things like this.
Yep.
They kept it, you know, the term 100 with each other.
Yep.
And look at the crossover that you're talking about.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Rock and roll, European music festivals, black, white, purple, brown, green, doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah. Well, and I got to think, though, it probably helped that cause, too. Everyone liked fucking weed. This guy's the one was rapping about weed.
Yeah. I mean, we got to the point where we go to certain countries and people were waiting out there with big old banners, you know, legalize marijuana and things like that.
Yeah.
And the cops are right across from Mad Dogging the shit out of them. And I'm like, man, these guys are trying to get us busted or something.
Yeah.
But when people do that for you, that's how much belief they have in what you're doing, that they'll come out and they'll support you and they'll support the cause.
Right on.
And I always like to throw this in there because it actually happened. But at one point, we actually opened up for Kiss.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, shit.
And I think it was like in Europe somewhere, but I always throw that in there because I'm very proud that happened.
Yeah, that's
you know what
awesome.
I mean. I don't know how many other hip hop acts have gotten to do that, but we did it.
That's pretty dope.
And amongst other big things, you know what I mean. But
yeah, Kiss is like different level shit. Although, I'd put Metallica above Kiss, but Kiss is like its own category almost.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
It is.
Yeah.
It's its own world. It's you know, people that are Kiss maniacs.
Yeah.
They buy everything that they put out, and they've supported that band for I don't know how many years they've been around, but there's day one people that still go see them today.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I want to ask you something more, I guess, a little more serious in nature. I'm curious what you think about this. So, you know, we talk about the marijuana thing, and this is just my 2 cents. All right, it almost was okay because our parents, the kids in the 90s, you saw talking about smoking weed. Our parents were the 60s and the 70s. They were smoking weed too, and there's almost like this. We kind of knew marijuana would be legalized at some point. You know what I mean? Maybe he didn't know. No, it's okay. Fuck it. Rapping about marijuana. Okay, it's not the end of the fucking world. Okay. Well, now that it's fucking legalized, and I talk to my kids about this shit now, listen to today's fucking rap music. They ain't fucking talking about drinking fucking beer and fucking smoking weed because it's fucking legal. So what the fuck are they talking about right now? You know what I mean? Percocets and fucking codeine and you know, all of them. You know, look at fucking Juice WRLD, right? I just would like to get your opinion on that, with like how the rappers seemingly have kind of upped the ante with drugs, because in my opinion, they feel like that's not cool anymore, because our age, we thought weed was bad. Well, now you're allowed to smoke weed, so can't rap about weed anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there, and I think that the current mentality in hip hop is to, in other words, is to be flossy. Okay, and there was a one time in rock and roll and metal where they called it glam metal.
Okay,
right. And I think that hip hop is there right now. It's called glam rap.
Okay.
And they like to show off, you know what I mean? And they talk about materialistic things, you know, like women and cars and money and diamonds and whatever they're getting high off of now.
Yep.
And not to be like a party pooper kind of guy or anything like that, but you got to realize when you do and say something on a record and on a video, that kids are going to try to emulate you.
Yep.
And if that's what you're promoting is, you know, Percocet and this and that or whatever other dangerous, you know, activity that might be going on, kids are going to want to try to get into it. So at Cypress Hill, we never felt that as an issue, because we've always understood that marijuana is a plant that is grown.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if you've ever heard, I've never heard of anybody ODing and dying from smoking too much weed.
No, exactly.
But I have heard of that from other things like, you know, alcohol and pills and whatnot. And you're seeing it play out right before your eyes.
Yeah.
Every 2 or 3 months, you know, 2 or 3 of them go down, and they, you know, and if they didn't get, I mean, there's a lot of violence out there too, but the whole thing with like that Juice WRLD cat.
Yeah.
I think it's
that's the saddest fucking story. Have you seen the documentary? Oh my god, dude!
I think it's in a dangerous place right now, as far as, you know, what's going on with the addictions and the pills and everything that's going on in hip hop now. And
would you go as far as saying it's almost irresponsible that they're rapping like this about it?
I mean, when you glorify something, you have to recognize that you know, there's two sides of the coin. You know what I mean? And of course, yeah, it's almost to a point of like where one guy's trying to outdo the next guy. No, I could drink more lean than you can,
right?
Or I can hang with more pills and this and that than you can. The next guy comes out trying to do more than him. Yeah. And then next to you know, kids that are listening to you are affected by it and want to try it, and things, you know, and it starts from there. You know, the way down starts from there. So, for that reason, we've never promoted anything but, you know, marijuana.
Yeah.
And I've had people come up to me and ask me, you know, hey man, is smoking pot is that all you guys do? Like
occasional mushrooms.
Like, hey, is that all you guys do? So. I've always felt like we didn't need to go any harder than that, and I still think that we don't.
Yeah.
And the fact that other people are going that route is because they need to shock you. They need to sell records. They need to be popular. Right. And you're not going to be popular just on good rhyming skill alone. Yep. You know what I mean? You got to, you know, the God Rakim already exists. He already blazed a trail. You know what I mean? You got to be about something, and a lot of them take that dangerous path, and most of the time it ends up, you know, in a self-destruction.
Yeah, that's one of the evolutions that I've seen, just between the shit I listened to versus the shit my son's listening to. And it's like, and I listened to some shit, man. I do a fucking Ghetto Boys album cover to cover, right? Yeah. And I mean, what are they fucking rapping about? Crazy fucking deranged shit, right? But you know, I think there are some things though that have evolved kind of positively, right? Like in the 90s, a kid that was in a wheelchair on a Disney Channel, Degrassi Junior High, wouldn't be one of the top rappers right fucking now, because rapping about fucking drive-bys and shit, you know what I mean? That wouldn't have flown in the 90s. You're full of shit. You're not from the fucking hood or whatever. So the fact that you don't have to like be a real gangster killing people now, I guess, is maybe a good thing with the evolution.
It's where it's at today with the platforms that the kids are all on, you know, and I use the term the kids are all on. It makes it sound like ancient, but I'll use it in terms of like today's generation of music. Sen made a good point, the shock value. If you don't have shock content, you're left on the back burner in today's world. So the shock value content, if it's almost the mentality and being young is that I'll push it as far as I can possibly go, and sometimes it goes too far. And then what's crazy is then, if, heaven forbid, something like that happened and somebody does, you know, pass away. You hear about the overdoses. Then they become martyrs, and the situation almost becomes worse because it's glorified as like, oh, you know, how he passed and stuff. At all, it's a strange time with the drugs and today's music. Definitely. Definitely so.
This is awesome, man. I really appreciate it, man. Do you guys have anything you'd like to promote or anything else we should be telling our audience about at this point?
Well, you could look out for Cypress Hill 2020-24. We will be out there doing things and performing with some very, very, very good entertainers. And I have a metal band that I play in called Power Flow.
Oh shit! Okay.
I'm hoping to get record number 2 out this year.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
And that involves a couple guys that you might know from Biohazard and Fear Factory.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a really cool thing, and big up Dave Lombardo from late Dave Lombardo, my high school homeboy. I always try to give him a shout out everywhere.
What's up, Dave? What's going on?
Yeah.
I'm gonna big up the heavy metal band rap crossover, man. Reminds me. Remember Ice-T? Ice-T did that with Body Count back in the day.
Yeah, we actually took Power Flow out with Body Count.
No way.
Yeah, and it went over. It went over so well.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I can't wait to do it again. So you know, Ice-T's actually waiting for us to put that record out so they can get back out there with him.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, and seeing the OG Ice-T do his thing with the metal band,
bro,
it's different than watching Ice-T, the rap star. Okay. It's different.
Well, dude, it's just funny, man. Seeing fucking Ice-T on all these TV shows and shit. Now it's like, dude, go listen to fucking Colors. He was doing gangster rap before there was gangster rap, dude. Colors was before Boys in the Hood.
Yeah. So he's had an incredible career and paved the way and showed us how to do it. So you know, big up Ice-T, man. It's just an inspiration. Even till now.
Right on, man. Well, listen, Trace, I really appreciate what you got.
Hold on, John. I made a promise to him about when we met him.
I've been waiting 2 months for this.
Waiting 2 months for you finally got his autographed signed poster.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Tour poster signed. Hold on.
Dude, this is getting framed, buddy.
You got a Cypress t-shirt.
Hello. Hell yeah.
And you got a Cypress hat.
Dude. Going to the frame, bro. I got like a man cave kind of section, but it's in my family room instead of my basement. This is going up in there, brother. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having us on, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Trace.
My brother.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Let's go. That concludes another episode of 2000% Raised with your host, John Cerasani. Make sure you're following on all social media platforms. Chai.